Hey everybody, this is Light, and guess where I am right now? So I'm in Venice, California. I'm sitting here with my friend Guru Jagat, who is the founder of Rama Yoga. I'm sure a lot of you guys in Venice have been to Rama Yoga. How long ago did you start Rama?
It was April 2013.
Yeah, so now it's like the big thing, all the cool kids, all the celebrities go to Rama, and we're sitting here in your home studio. You actually live like 2.5 blocks away from me, which is amazing. I didn't know that until tonight. And guess what just came out yesterday? Boom. Invincible Living. How did you come up with that title, Invincible Living? And what does that actually, what does it mean? I know it says, the power of yoga and the energy of breath, but what does that really mean in a real world? And that's what I like about Guru Jagat, is that she speaks the layman's language, even though she's very experienced. She's got a lot of street cred when it comes to yoga, meditation, and kundalini. So what does Invincible Living mean?
Well, invincible, actually, the word, I mean, obviously it's a word in English, but it's a word from this beautiful yogic poem that's written by, I'm a poet, and if I wasn't doing this, I would probably be somewhere writing poetry, like right now, but instead we're here together. So
that's good to know. I'm going to ask you about that in a
moment. So I love the yogic poems, and this kind of description of what is possible for the human being comes from this poet, Guru Gobind Singh. And so he, basically laid out in his, I think he was the first rapper personally, because like he was kind of like a spoken word poet. He had this whole rhythm. I mean, this was in the 1600s in India, but because he rode a horse, he had this whole rhythmic kind of thing.
I'm feeling it.
You know what I mean? And it was, and so. And so he wrote this beautiful poem about the human invincibility and the sound and the template. He gave basically the template of invincibility, and I was so inspired, and I feel like this is such a time on the planet where we all need skills and tools and ways that we can kind of activate our own innate invincibility, because people are feeling really helpless and disenfranchised. So that was, and I mean, I gave it the name before he who will not be named got elected, but I think it's even more apropos now.
So then the intention behind this book is it for people who are already into Kundalini, or for people to learn about Kundalini and how to use those different tools of yoga and meditation to become invincible? What's the intention behind it?
The intention is that there's no barrier to entry. So I'm definitely not a preaching to the choir kind of person. I really love to talk to everyone and anyone who is just human and wants to feel better no matter what they're doing. And I was very touched because I talked to this guy who couldn't pronounce Kundalini. He was adorable. He kept on, and he was saying to me, he's like, I'm never going to pronounce this right, but he had read the book, and he said, this is like blue collar yoga. Like, this is like, he kept on calling it blue collar yoga. I'm from West Virginia, and I was like, thank you so much. That's like such a compliment. And all the way to people who are deep meditative practitioners and who, yogis, and I've heard beautiful feedback that it's like the textbook they've always wanted. So I think it hits a lot of notes, and I kind of made it so that, I said this in class this morning, I made it so that it's kind of like half Playboy magazine, half like DIY 70s book. I'm kidding, but you can read the articles or you can look at the pictures. Right. So there's kind of something for everyone in it, and you can just open it and get something from it and not read it back to back. Or if you're into, I do like to write, so there is, there's that going on.
Have you always been a writer?
Always.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
poetry or just everything?
Everything, poetry and prose. But I like, how one of my favorite poets said about another poet, John Berryman. He said, "Say it better in 1,000 words." Like about his poem, say it better in and so I love the distillation of power into a small nuclear atom, so I do love poetry.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So when you were writing this, then you were writing it almost from a creative writing, poetic type of a place, because I know I'm working on a book now as well. We know a few other people who are working on books, and my writing is, I think it's okay. It's very kind of, it's very not unpoetic to me. And that's something that I've been wanting to bring more into my writing. So how do you culture that?
You know what I do, and I've been telling it. This is actually one of the practices, and I'm giving you this is my little challenge
bring
for
it
you.
on. I could use some. All the help I can
This
get.
is good. This is gonna like
Yeah.
I've seen it just change everyone who's been doing it. We've been basically since September. Well, actually, it was even earlier than that. We've been doing a haiku a day. So
Oh.
everybody, like the women in my women's training, and just a lot of the people at Rama, I've
love
challenged write a haiku a day.
So haiku is 4 lines.
It's 5, 7, 5,
lines?
3 lines, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and then 5 syllables.
So
it's
3 lines. The first line is 5 syllables. The second line is 7. The third line is 5.
5.
And it can be anything.
Anything.
Any amount of words.
As
As
long
long as
it's
it's
5
within
syllables.
5 syllables. Wow. Okay.
And it's really like I think that the Japanese. I'm a Japanophile. I just love everything Japanese.
Yeah.
And I just think that like the kind of Zen nature of their mind stream created this form that inside of it really like just like a mantra. It kind of templates like a new way of looking at things. That's what I love about poetry is that, or just creativity, because I think creativity in any form, because you were just telling me you're a visual artist. Creativity in any form is the commodity of this age. Like in this time where people feel so disenfranchised and so empty, and the technology age, all the ways that we've kind of, separated from ourselves and each other, creativity is the cure. And I talk about that a lot in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in what context in the book are you talking about? Because I was thinking when you were saying that, I was thinking, okay, I'm a photographer, and then Instagram comes out, and then everybody's a photographer. Or I'm an artist, and then Photoshop comes out, and everybody's an artist.
Right.
So like, what's the context that you're talking about creativity in the book
Well,
when it comes to yoga?
yeah, well, I mean, I feel like basically there's a destructive force on the planet and a creative force, because we live on a polarity planet. It's straight up Rogue One, we're it's where that's what we're doing. So we're either being destructive or we're being constructive, always.
Right.
So my thing is like, if you keep yourself on the constructive kind of channel, then I love that everyone is a photographer and if we just pay attention to being constructive instead of self-destructive, then it just begets more. Like it gives you energy, so then you feel like more generous and you feel more collaborative, and it becomes something that creates enlightened society. That's my opinion. So, and also it makes you feel good. Like I was thinking about this, my friend who's 18, she's now 19. Like she has cystic fibrosis, and she faces her death all the time. Like she's in a major death training, and when she gets emotional, the first thing she does is she goes and paints, or she goes and creates, and she's of the age where she hasn't gotten like to the adult kind of burdens. So, and I remember, and when I watched her, I'm like, I remember a time when that was true for me. And now I own a business, and now I all the reasons why we're not gonna like just create art for art's sake. And so I took that as a real opportunity to start to practice more art for art's sake. And so it's one of my big messages.
So this is kind of like an artist's way for people to use, but using the tools of Kundalini, I'm imagining.
Yeah, these are the teachings of my teacher Yogi Bhajan and Hari Jivan, and so it is using the framework of these incredible techniques that they have given us. And in that, one of Yogi Bhajan's major messages was that to be a yogi is to be a creator, and to work with your mind and your subconscious mind, and to clear a space for kind of the generosity of the human spirit that's innate. That's a creative act. So that's art. Your practice, your meditative practice, your yoga practice becomes an act of art.
Right. So let's say I am a toll operator in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And, I've never taken any kind of Kundalini classes or anything like that. What is Kundalini?
Yeah.
In that layman's sort of terminology,
Yeah.
and what are the tools that someone can use that they would find in the book to be constructive as opposed to destructive?
Well, I think, to answer Kundalini, it's a fancy word, and I think people are like, oh, I don't know how to pronounce that, or Kundalini. It's almost the first line of a haiku.
You see everything in haikus now.
Kundalini.
You're reading a menu at the restaurant. That's a haiku.
Kundalini is. Hold on, if I can answer you in a haiku. It's
only speaking haikus for the rest of the interview.
But it's the most accessible form of yoga and meditation, I think. You know, of course, I'm coming from this viewpoint. In the way that you don't have to touch your toes, you don't have to do anything pretzely, you don't, you know, there's not a lot of barriers to entry, and so there's so much that anybody could do to pick this up and open it up, and there'll be, you know, a practice where you deepen your breath through your left nostril, and that gives you kind of, you know, a break from compulsive thinking or compulsive action because you're stimulating your right hemisphere. There's a lot of these like yogic science kind of techniques that anybody could do, like sitting at their office or going, you know, to pick up their kids, waiting to pick up their kids after school. So it's very householder, and that anybody could do it at any age, at any physical fit.
All right. Now we're
like
back.
Blowing out the electromagnetic
I know we
vibes.
We what did they call it? We broke Facebook there for a minute with that amazing story about.
Sorry about it. It's the auras.
In restaurants.
Yeah.
So, we're back, and people are starting to come back on again. So, how are you doing on time? You okay?
Yeah, I don't even know what time it is, but it's this time.
It's now?
Right now.
It's now o'clock?
It's now time.
It's 6:10, because I know you have a class tonight, right? So,
no, we don't.
You
Not
don't?
me right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you take classes much at your own studio, or do you mostly just...
I do. Well, my teacher teaches at Rama
right?
Harijivan. Yeah,
Okay.
he teaches Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday when he's in town. So normally I will go, but tonight I have to do something else. But he's amazing. You should come sometime. Do you know him?
I don't. No, not by name. I probably know him by face, because, you know, a lot of these guys go around to Erewhon and Whole Foods and all that around.
Yeah, he tries to hide.
Is there a Rishikesh scene for the Rama people much? Because I see some other Kundalini people.
Kundalini, yeah, that's not our scene particularly as much. Do you guys, does your lineage go there?
Yeah.
We go more up north, kind of Dharmasala, Amritsar. That's more our scene.
Is that where Yogi Bhajan was out of?
Yeah, Yogi Bhajan was from what is now Pakistan, actually.
Okay.
Like right off the side of Amritsar,
Okay.
which is now Pakistan.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you were saying you moved to LA, 9/11 happened, and then you 2 years later you came out to LA.
Yeah.
And were you teaching at that point?
No, I was studying with Yogi Bhajan and
Directly with him?
Yeah, he was still alive. I mean, he was very ill, so we weren't it wasn't like you got a daily thing, but the amount that he taught those last 2 years I tried to be around, which was not very much.
So he basically started Kundalini, or he brought it to the West?
He brought it to the West, yeah. He brought it to the West, and he had a very rigorous kind of yogic training from his teacher, Sanazara Singh, and spent years with him, and then started working for the Indian government in a way to get paid to go to these far off places in India and
like a
Tibet.
bureaucrat with the government?
Well, he was bureaucrat basically,
Huh.
but he got sent to. He would like go on missions to do some county out by Tibet to collect taxes or whatever. But really, he was going and sitting in front of yogi, like the different yogis' caves that he had heard about that were rumored to be outside of town and that had been there for 100 years. There were all these rumors, and he would go and find these guys and spend time with them.
So he was on the clock for the government, but he would go and sneak in.
Yeah. He would sneak in his
knowledge.
like yogi vibes, yeah. for about 20 years before he came to the West, he did that, yeah.
Wow.
So he was very, very, very interesting.
So he was in LA, you came to LA, you didn't know he was here, or you came for Guru, Yogi Bhajan?
I came to LA, he was actually so sick he wasn't leaving New Mexico, the ashram in New Mexico at the time, but he had established, LA is the seat of Kundalini Yoga in the West. This was the place where he spent most of his time, and so he had really established the Dharma here, and so he kind of sent me this way in many ways. He sent me to LA, and so I started teaching at his original school for a decade.
Wow. Is that where you became a very eloquent speaker? Because, or were you already speaking like that? Because you have, you have your own voice, obviously, and well, not obviously, but to me, it's obvious that you've developed your own voice. You can tell that you're speaking from your perspective, from your experience, and that I know as a teacher that takes time to develop. Because in the beginning you probably start off parroting your teacher, because that's what you've heard for however long. And then it just takes enough time of having your own experiences and letting those experiences kind of channel through you to find your own voice. So how long did that process take for you? And do you feel that it's your own voice now, or is that just my imagination for you? Am I just projecting that onto you?
Well, I think that something happens, like there's an alchemy, and I'm maybe this has happened. I feel it's probably happened for you, that there's like an alchemy that between your practice and then the lineage and then your kind of personal unique relationship with yourself and with your practice and with whatever your dharma is, your mission is, and all the things that all kind of alchemizes into hopefully your own unique creative expression. Like that's the whole point of being in a human body and incarnated. And so I think that's, I definitely feel that that's becoming in me, that's my prayer. And I love words. I love sound. Kundalini Yoga has a lot of sound involved in it, and I love the way that sound. I've always been fascinated. Like I studied linguistics, and I was always, before I was a yogi, fascinated about sound and how sound changed consciousness, even before I understood mantra and the science of sound and some of the so. It's always been a fascination. One of the things that I give in the book that I think is a really simple thing to do around, like if you're trying to find your own voice, which I think everyone is, hopefully in some way, is you start to listen to the sound of your own voice, like as a spiritual practice. What does it sound like when you speak, and what are you really communicating, like, but beyond the words? And then another thing you can do is actually like speak into your phone and sleep to your own words. Like Yogi Bhajan gave this practice of like, you make a recording of how great you are, and you have to like go on for like 15 minutes of like how great you are, and then you make that a track of it, and you sleep to it, and like it's amazing. First of all, it's hard to do. Maybe not for you, like, but
no, I'm just
like he would be so good at it.
Everyone else is like sleeping to white noise and whatnot. And Guru Jagat's over here two blocks away, sleeping to herself. Like, you're so wonderful. You're so amazing.
Come on,
you're the best ever.
Muhammad Ali. What did he always say? I'm the greatest.
Of all time.
That's right. It's a self-concept, and Tony Robbins talks about the same thing too. It's like, it's like, who else is going to do it? Everybody else is going to tell you you suck, and
that's true.
That's just the way it is. So you might as well give it to yourself. Like if you're waiting for someone else to acknowledge you, then you're going to wait a long time.
It's interesting because I was just thinking as you were saying that, what do you feel challenged by? Because you come across as a very confident person. I've heard you speak before, and it's like you're able to step out of your own way and just let your words channel through you. But what is Guru Jagat still? What are you afraid of? What are you challenged by?
What am I working on?
What are you working on?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur, and having a small business in America is not an easy thing. So it takes me it's a daily practice to like keep grounded and expanded around being, having people who depend on me for their paychecks and their families and their, that's like, it's real to me, and I take it seriously. And anyone who has any brick and mortar businesses understand that if you have a small brick and mortar business, it's a struggle. And I don't have rich parents or a rich husband, or there's some rumors about that, about people. I've heard that on the street, which is cute. I wish. So in fact, I didn't even have a credit card until like 6 months ago.
For some yogic purpose, or you just didn't? believe in credit cards?
Well, no, because I had a horrible credit score. Because I was like following my teacher, you know, maxing out credit cards when I was like, 20 years old.
You were that girl.
I was that girl, like, anything for the Dharma. But so, yeah, I couldn't get a credit card until like 6 months ago. But so having a business and having to be, really support other people and other people's families and livelihoods, really, it's a real thing. That has been a big challenge and such an incredible, rewarding challenge. So that's real, and I pray and work with that every day. And also, I have a living teacher who, is wonderfully hard on me. So he's always pointing out all sorts of things.
So
that I need to work on, and thank God. I'm so grateful.
So you're probably one of the few people that can identify with my name thing. Like, I'm Light, you're Guru Jagat, right?
Yeah.
So when we're out in public and there's always the introduction and you get that reaction, like, is that your real name?
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with all that?
Well, I think it's funny, people ask if that's my real name, and I think that's an interesting question because the answer is it's the realest name. For me, like, it's the realest name. Because, Yogi Bhajan gave it to me and it was real.
Right.
Like, the experience was very real. And so it is the realest name to me. But yeah, when I got it, I was like 20 years old. And I remember everybody else got, their spiritual names. And it was very kind of like, sweet, their names, and very beautiful. And then he, was like, Guru Jagat. And I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do? That sucks. Like, how am I ever gonna get around that one,
But I guess that's part of the work, right?
It is. Cause
do you feel that kind of inner, like, oh God, here we go again? Like, you're almost kind of waiting for the reaction from people when they finally get around. What's your name?
Yeah.
Do you say Guru Jagat in all situations, 100% of the time, or
sometimes I say GJ if
I'm sure, like, when you're traveling and everything, you have to kind of go under the radar.
Exactly. When I'm in a social situation or I'm really wanting to fly under the thing, I'll be like, if I'm at Starbucks, it's like GJ.
GJ.
It's fine. G and then J. They'll be like, GJ? I'm like, yeah, G and then a J.
It's almost easier to say Guru Jagat.
Yeah, almost it is, almost. But it's, it's easier to spell. So yeah, that's why I just keep it. But then at the same time, what I've noticed, and I bet you have too, the less, like, kind of turbulence I have about anything.
Yes.
About anything, whether it's my name or my, whatever, like, the less turbulence I have about it, the more it just, like, like, people you would never expect just, like, they don't even blink an eye. So that's an interesting thing. I think that's such a good teaching for us all, because the more we get, like, okay with ourselves, whatever that is, like, everybody else is fine.
What do you do when they say, what's your real name?
I say that I kind of say what I said to you. And I say, I kind of ignore it, to be very honest. Like, I've gotten to the point where I'm just like,
I just say John. I just make up something.
Yeah, I was gonna say that isn't your real name.
What difference does it make anyway?
Your real name? Light is your real name.
No, it's not.
Oh, really?
No, I've been Light for 12 years.
Okay, well,
and it's a little
seems like your
complicated story where it all came from. It's like way too much to really get into it with people in passing.
Yeah.
Some people I'm happy to tell the story to, but let's say it was John, right? If you call me John, I'm not really gonna pay you any attention. So why does it even matter?
Right.
Like, okay, you satisfy your curiosity. Now what?
I know people are really fascinated by that, and I get it. I get that there's, like, the new age name change of it all, and it's kind of can be, but also sound changes consciousness.
Right. And when I had started to go by Light, I did some research and found out that Westerners are the only population of people that keeps the same name that they were born with for their whole life. And everyone else, especially like in the Indian, Pakistani culture, they almost always take on new names with age or with life stage or with position or with experiences and things like that. So it's actually more common to have a different name at some point in your life than to have the same old boring name your whole life. And that people still identifying you with what you were called when you were 2 years old.
Right.
So I found that really interesting.
That is very interesting, because I totally agree.
And it makes sense.
Yeah, it's not the first time I changed my name in high school, actually. and then kind of again when I was a young adult, not my first name, but like I very much felt that I had to get rid of my father's last name. It just felt like it was so heavy. With like the potato famine and the the Cherokee, like the Trail of Tears and the potato famine and the alcoholism and like the Celts and there's just so much in that last name that I was like, I don't want this. This is not, so I early on kind of was like, okay, I want to configure my name the way that feels right to me. But I get it's like an eye roller or whatever, but I've had Guru Jagat now for almost half of my life. So, it's like, it's the realest name to me.
That's fantastic, yeah. So we're going to wind this up. A little bit more about the book. Where can people find you? Because you told me you're going on a book tour, so I want people to be able to find you, to hear you in person, because it's amazing just to be around your energy. Where are you going?
Well, I'm going to DC, which is kind of my hometown this
DC?
Weekend, which I'm so excited. You did?
Yeah.
Somebody, I just met another person who went to Howard. It's a good school. So I'm going to be in DC, and I actually have never been there before, and I'm really excited about it. It feels like it was like a calling also to be there before the march and the inauguration.
Are you going to be there for all that?
No, we're going to New York, but there's something like there's a call. There's a reason why I'm going there. I really feel that. So we're going to be in DC this weekend.
At that bookstore called the what's it called? Bus Boys and something or another?
No, we're not gonna. We need space to do a little yoga, so we're going we'll be at a place called Chelsea Collective on Saturday, and then Kit and Ace, which is
cool.
They have like a cool area, and that's in Georgetown on Sunday.
Sunday the 20.
No, it's the 15th.
This weekend,
yeah. Okay. And then we'll be in New York next week, the 16th, Martin Luther King Day, the 17th and the 18th, and we have events all of those days.
Where in New York? Just different random.
We have a kind of studios. More like yoga event, and then we have more like of a fancy book launch event at the James in Soho on Tuesday, and then Cap Beauty, my friends at Cap Beauty.
How can people get into these, or are they all invitation only?
No, you can come. GuruJagat.com.
GuruJagat.
GuruJagat.com. And then we're back in LA, and so we're gonna go to San Diego, and it's kind of the whole year. You're gonna be doing it too. Like there's lots of. We're going back to Kripalu and Omega, and we're going to Hong Kong and Mallorca, my studio Mallorca, which I really want to get you to come and teach at. I'm gonna come. Please. Yeah. I really, really, really.
Possibly this summer.
Come this summer. We're gonna be there in July. Cool. So Light's gonna be in Mallorca this summer. Yeah. No, but I really would like that. So yeah.
And otherwise, they can find you here in Venice
at Rama. And also on Rama TV, which is my virtual platform.
TV. That's every day.
Every day we put my class up, and there's all sorts of other content, and that's rama-tv.com.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking time out on your busy. I know you're like getting ready to leave. You guys can't see it, but there's stuff all over here. You're packing, getting ready to take off on the road. So thank you so much. And I'm happy to get the book.
Thank you.
Wish you much success. I'll see you around the hood.
See you around the hood.
And thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
What you're doing.
Oh, let's see if there's any questions. Let me see if there are any questions in here. I don't even know how to do that. You guys have any questions?
Oh, there it is.
Let's see. Allison says, love this collab. Arvo says, watched about 2 minutes before it said something went wrong. Okay, try again now. I'm in Australia. Would love to purchase your book. Where can I get it? Amazon probably, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, guys. She's got to go, and we got to get done. But you can leave questions in the comments, and we'll get to those answers in the comments. Take care.